This podcast contains graphic content. Listener caution is recommended. Specifically, today's episode of Choosing the Bear contains themes and discussion of substance abuse, rape, sexual assault, and murder.
Hello, welcome to Choosing the Bear, a true crime podcast. My name is Daniel, and with me is my co-host / sister, Lois. Today's episode is a continuation of last week's episode on Stephen Port, the Grindr killer. Hello, Lois.
Sorry, I turned my mic off. Hi!
How's your week been? God, it's been ages since I last seen you.
God, Daniel, it's been too long. Let's make it longer.
Yeah. The joke there being, we literally have just finished recording episode 10, and now we're straight into 11.
11. How's my week been? I had a singing lesson this week. I've had such a jam-packed week, girlies. I really have not had a lot of time to continue the research, but...
A singing lesson was with the one and only Sabrina Carpenter as well, if you didn't want to know that.
It weren't.
Yeah. Could have played along for a bit longer if you wanted, but nah, fucking...
I can't tell when you're being sarcastic. That's so embarrassing.
Wild. It is, because, you know, I've known you my entire life. Actually, no, I've not. Hang on, that's weird, actually. You've known me your entire life, but I've not known you my entire life.
Well, how long have you not known me for?
Well, how much older than you am I?
2 years.
2 years.
2?
2. So for 2 years of my life, I didn't know you existed, because you didn't.
Oh, God, Daniel, to go back to them days.
The happiest days of my life.
Yeah, so Tuesday had a singing lesson. Wednesday sat down and watched Daredevil. Thursday had a Sabrina Carpenter concert.
Sabrina Carpenter.
I am so grateful that I was able to get tickets to go to that, because I see like all on TikTok is like, oh my God, like I need to go. So I was so grateful to be able to get tickets. So I went to that. Today I've been off work because when I got in, I literally collapsed. And then, yeah.
So you just took the day off?
Yeah. No, I booked it off. I didn't call it sick.
Right.
I booked it off. And then, I was saying to myself all week, like, oh yeah, Friday I'm going to have a real productive day. I'm going to, like, finish my research. Because the case that I'm currently researching is the murder of Victoria Climby. And, oh my God, I didn't realise how big it was and how... I knew it was horrific. I watched a documentary on it, like, years ago. But I did not realise how much information that was. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to finish this. And all I've done today is go to Tesco and just buy shit.
Right.
And then I had a nap.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my Friday, loves.
Yeah, sounds great. My Friday consisted of me just being at work. I mean, this is weird, right? Because to the people listening, right, we're talking about events that happened a week and a bit ago. But for us, it's happened right now. Do you know what I mean? Lois is quickly having a drink, so I'm going to have to sort of pad for time while she puts the lid back on her bottle, gets her mic, unmutes her mic, and says something incredibly insightful.
I am drinking 7-Up from a soda stream, and it's actually bloody lovely.
There's your insight. How good was that?
And I've drank nearly, I don't know how many litres is in this bottle. Oh my God, the bottle fucking expires. What the fuck?
What?
Expires the 10th, 2028.
How does a bottle expire?
It's got an expiry date on it.
What's it going to do? Shrivel up and just vanish?
I don't know.
How weird.
I have to Google that. What the fuck? So I've drank nearly a litre. There's 840ml in this, and I've drank nearly all of that in probably about 2 hours. Oh my God, a hydrated queen.
Now that I'm now that I've had a routine for like 6 weeks now, I'm acting like it's still new. It's been about 6 weeks I've had this routine. 7 if you're listening to this when it drops. My water intake now is just, I'm like a fucking fish. I can't stop drinking. I love it. I'm so well hydrated.
Do you drink water or do you drink like squash?
I'm drinking water. It's my H2O boy.
I used to like ride or die for squash. We were brought up not around fizzy drinks, so I know. Do you know what? God bless our mum, because like I'm glad.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also on a bit of a fizzy drink ban now as well, because I'm trying to cut down on the shit in my life. Fizzy drink's one of those things where I only got into them recently because last year I'd go to the cinema all the time. So I'd just get a drink there, and it became like a fucking addiction. I felt like every time I was like, well, not an addiction. Addiction's dramatic, but I was like, oh, let's get myself a big freestyle. Get myself that Dr. Pepper cherry vanilla.
Oh, I love Coke Vanilla.
I hate your abbreviations at times, but yes. But then I realised if I go out without it, I'm actually fine without fizzy drinks because I think of that upbringing. Not having fizzy drinks and only sticking to Robinson squash.
Yeah, but you know, I prefer. This is like such a boring conversation, but I prefer Asda squash to Robinson squash.
Do you? I don't. I've got a squash down here in Orange one, which actually a friend of mine bought round once. I've not touched it since they were here. It's fucking dry as anything. It's horrible, actually. I should probably.
Is it that Glinda one?
What? Glinda?
The Glinda squash, the glitter one.
No, it's. I'll have a look now for you.
God damn it, please. The suspense is literally killing me.
Oh, I don't know what it is. Oh, it's a Tesco orange squash. Here,
but I think the own brands are better.
No, it's so dry, it's disgusting. But yeah, for the people at home, sorry about this real shit chat, but
boring.
It's what you get at the end of the day. Well, actually, it's the start of the day because your day is just starting. It's 9 a.m. on a Monday.
If you are
Things
listening
are looking bright.
Also, if you're listening on Spotify, I don't know if you have to be following us, but if you're not, then please do, thanks. But you can click the bell and you'll get notified when we drop an episode, which is every Monday at 9 a.m. So, yeah. I don't know if you have it on Apple Podcasts, though, because I don't use Apple Podcasts.
Nah, me either. But yeah, no, hit the bell. Do all those things that you need to do that we're fucking begging for, really. Be ideal if you could do it.
Please.
Please.
Okay. So, I haven't written this down, so I need to summarise the information that was given in part 1 for the girlies who have had to wait a week for part 2.
Not me, though.
So, in part 1, we met Stephen, who lives in Barking and uses GHB amongst like crystal meth and other drugs to drug men who he brings to his house under the pretenses of like hooking up. For example, one of his victims, Anthony Woolgate, under the pretext because he was a escort, he brought him to his house, drugged him and then raped him. And then another victim, Gabriel, who had moved in with Stephen, and then he had drugged him and raped him and dumped his body in a church graveyard, which was like around or less than 500 metres away from his house. And then he had also assaulted another man before he had murdered Anthony and Gabriel. So that is where we're at, but obviously I would recommend going to listen to part 1 because you'll get obviously all the deets. Otherwise you'll be going into this literally blind.
Just anyway, a weird thing to do.
Shall we begin? Do you have
Let's
anything else to say?
proceed with part 2 of the Grindr Killer.
So similar to last episode, this is going to have a lot of like descriptions and deals heavily with sexual assault and rape.
Yeah, so again, if you are triggered by anything mentioned in this, feel free to absolutely not listen to this episode.
Daniel Wentworth was 23 years old and loved his job as a chef. Daniel had a long-term boyfriend and the two lived together. Daniel and Stephen would sadly cross paths on the dating site called Fit Lads. The pair would agree to meet on the 18th of September after they had been talking for a while. Daniel messaged his boyfriend and told him that he would be home late from work, indicating that he didn't plan on spending much time with Stephen. It's unclear for definite what took place while Daniel was at Stephen's flat. But at 10:30 a.m. the next morning, Stephen deleted his Fit Lads account, trying to delete any traces that the pair had met up. On the 20th of September, Daniel's body was found in a graveyard by a dog walker, and the walkers said it looked as if he had been placed there. An autopsy conducted showed that Daniel had died as a result of an overdose of GHB. In one report I seen that Daniel was found next to a bedsheet that didn't get DNA tested, and from part 1 we know that Stephen's DNA had already been collected by police. So if they had tested that fucking bedsheet, then they would have probably found Stephen's fucking DNA on it.
It's such a simple thing that you think they'd just do.
It's actually just basic police work.
Yeah, the forensics would come in and, take any DNA swabs from anything they get their hands on.
Yeah, there's literally evidence.
Bizarre.
However, next to Daniel's body was a suicide note, claiming he was responsible for Gabriel's death and took his own life due to guilt. A story was forming that supposedly Daniel and Gabriel had met at a chemsex party. The pair had gone back to Stephen's flat, and from there, Daniel and Gabriel went to the church ground to have sex. Daniel then administered a fatal dose of GHB to Gabriel. It also said, quote, "Don't blame the guy I was with last night. We only had sex, then I left. He knows nothing of what I have done." The police sent the note to Daniel's family to see if the handwriting matched Daniel's, and it was inconclusive. So if you couldn't tell, Stephen wrote that fucking note. And he wrote, "Don't blame the guy I was with last night." That's literally pointing a big fat fucking finger at yourself.
What's terrifying is that he is using... He's murdered someone and gone, oh, I've got an opportunity here to sort of try and move the cover away from me and wrap up this murder I've done, this double murder, and tie it into one. He saw an opportunity in that. He didn't think, oh my God, I've murdered someone. He saw, oh, I've got a way now to sort of completely get the police off of my back.
Even though they weren't already on it.
And then, yeah, exactly. But like prevent that from happening to begin with. And then plagiarize this guy's name because he can't defend himself because I fucking murdered him. Like that's very layered in terms of his thinking there.
It's, oh my God. Like, are you that fucking stupid? Like, to put, don't blame the guy I was with last night. You didn't have to put that. It's just fucking stupid.
Is this what eventually causes downfall then?
No.
Not to reveal the ending? Well, then I don't think it's that stupid then. Because evidently it didn't put a target on his back.
But then look at everything else they've got and that didn't put a target on his back.
Yeah, true. But I think he saw this as his prime opportunity to then really like fully just, I don't know, pin it on.
I get it's being like pushing the blame off of him to then on someone else, like disgustingly. But I just think, I mean, it could be hindsight as well, but I think that's just so stupid being like, oh, don't look at this. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Because it's like, oh, don't look at him. He didn't do anything. To then immediately like look at them. I know what you're saying. But in this instance now, I mean, we never know what the police or what anyone was thinking in this. But I just think clearly the facts show right now that him saying that didn't jeopardize him.
Victim D was 22 years old and was undergoing gender reassignment treatment. D is described as, quote, looking far less than his chronological age. In January 2015, D visited Stephen's flat. He was offered a drink and was then unconscious. Stephen raped D while he was unconscious. As well as this, Stephen recorded it and showed it to D the next day. Victim D was absolutely outraged. And that, like, how are you that absolutely fucking vile and unhinged to do that in the first place?
How does that scenario
and then
go
show
down
the fucking victim?
Yeah, how does that scenario go down the next day where he just shows him his assault
rape video? Yeah, I don't know.
Fuck?
It's literally I can't comprehend. It's just fucking insane. This next victim is graphic, so feel free to skip like forward maybe like 2 minutes. Victim E was aged 35 and had met Stephen on Grindr in July 2015. The two met up at Stephen's flat with the intention of having consensual anal intercourse. E did not agree to take in any drugs. Stephen pretended to apply lubricant to E's anus. Once Stephen inserted an applicator, E, quote, had an unpleasant sensation of burning or tingling which caused a slight numbing. E suspected Stephen of trying to drug him. He quickly got dressed and left his flat before any more offences could be committed. Victim F sadly had a similar experience. F and Stephen met on Grindr in August of 2015. F stated that he did not take drugs in their conversations. Stephen would apply an applicator to F's anus with the pretense that it was lube. F described the pain was like a bite. His mind then went completely blank and he felt dizzy. He eventually felt unconscious. Stephen then raped victim F. And
God.
It does say like applicator in the court transcripts, but then I don't know if I have it in a quote, but I did also see it like said injected, so I presume that applicator is like a syringe.
Yeah, I was going to ask what applicator meant, but yeah, no, that makes sense then.
It don't like black and white say it was a syringe, but I did see it said like injected, so it's not confirmed, but I presume it is a syringe that is the applicator.
Either way, yeah, it wasn't what he said it was.
Yeah. Either way, he's administering drugs to people who are not consenting and then raping them. Victim G had previously known Stephen but had met again via Grindr. G made it explicitly clear that he did not take drugs in their conversations. Similarly to victim F and E, Stephen applied what was presumed to be lube but was actually an applicator to administer drugs. G experienced an intense pain followed by feeling dizzy, almost like he was drunk. Thankfully, G didn't fall unconscious and was able to leave Stephen's flat. In G's victim statement, he said that he felt partly responsible for the deaths of Stephen's victims. But we cannot and will not victim blame. The only person to blame is Stephen, the man who is committing the crimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just like so sad that like a victim experiences guilt for like feeling that they didn't do anything or enough, or
yeah,
like,
of course,
feelings like that. But then you have him who's actually fucking doing it and he just feels nothing.
He's trying to pass the blame on to someone else.
Yeah, it's just fucking sick. Stephen's final murder victim would be 25-year-old Jack Taylor. Jack lived with his parents in Dagenham and had a job as a forklift driver. Evidence suggests that he had been active on gay websites but hadn't came out as gay. It was also made known in court that Jack didn't voluntarily take drugs. On the 12th of September, Jack went to the pub, enjoyed a few drinks and then went back home. He went on Grindr for a bit and then contacted Stephen, and the two decided to meet at Barking train station. They met at around 3:15 on the 13th of September. 3:15 a.m. on the 13th of September, and they made their way back to Stephen's flat. It's unclear what definitively happened during this time, but sadly I think we have an idea given his track record. On the same morning, just before 7 a.m, Stephen blocked or deleted Jack's Grindr account, resulting in the conversations being lost. Not long after, Stephen deleted his own Grindr account. It's thought that Jack's body stayed at the flat all day on the 13th and wasn't moved until the evening/night time. Jack's body was placed to make out as if he was sitting up and was just over the wall from where Gabriel and Daniel's body had been placed. Along with the other victims, Jack had a bottle of GHB placed into his pocket and his phone wasn't found on him. When his body was examined, Jack's cause of death would be determined to be a mixed drug and alcohol overdose. When Jack's family were informed of his death, they were absolutely taken back that the cause of death was drug-related. They said he was very anti-drugs and had dreams of becoming a police officer. Similarly to Gabriel's friend John, Jack's sisters carried out their own investigation and linked all four of the murder victims together. They brought their information and deep concerns to the police but were ultimately dismissed. However, police did tell Jack's family that they found CCTV footage of Jack walking down a street with a man hours before his death.
So, that was a lot, but did he put the body in the same area again, in the same graveyard, did you say?
Yeah, it was in the same graveyard, like a wall, like just over the wall from where he had placed Daniel and Gabriel's body before.
Oh my God.
And then it as well, so Jack's sisters carried out their own investigation, hadn't had any contact with John, and they both found the same things.
It says a lot about how two associates of the victims and like just having to be driven to conduct their own investigation because they're not happy with what's already been done by the police. That speaks volumes.
Victim H was aged 24 and had been in a sexual relationship with Stephen in previous years. It was October 2015 when he ended up homeless after the breakdown of one of his relationships and turned to the only friend he had, Stephen. H stayed with Stephen for 2 weekends. On the first weekend, Stephen pressured him into taking a line of drugs and H gave in and did so. Stephen then raped H. H said that he was, quote, too weak to argue. On the next weekend, H consumed a line of drugs, and as with all the other victims, Stephen applied an applicator of what H presumed to be lube. H immediately felt drowsy, suffered from palpitations, and lost consciousness. Stephen then raped H. It's just too much.
It's just a lot to just, he keeps doing the same thing again and again and again. And knowing that he could have been caught way earlier.
Yeah.
And the amount of times we keep repeating the same scenario again, it sort of just drills home how this could have been prevented if people just fucking worked a bit harder at their jobs. The jobs which you go into because you've got a passion for protecting, preserving life and that sort of stuff. And yet when you actually have a chance to do that and fail this badly, so hearing this crime just being committed again and again and again, it's sick.
And he's just like, I can just get away with this. It's oh my God.
He must have a huge ego.
Yeah. And like from part 1, I said that the police had collected his DNA and had confiscated his laptop but didn't search it for 10 months. And like they don't test. I don't know if they did test victims, but then if they did test the DNA on victims, then they could have or would have linked it to his fucking DNA in the storage base, whatever it is. It's just, oh my God. On the 13th of October 2015, also notice how we're in 2015 when...
started 2014.
The first, I haven't got a date for the first assault victim, but the first murder victim was the 19th or 18th of June 2014. And we are now 13th of October 2015. So like, what's that like?
So he's been active a year and 2 months. 2 months.
Yeah. On the 13th of October 2015, the Metropolitan Police released the image of Jack walking with Stephen and asked the public to contact them if they recognised Stephen. They subsequently received numerous calls, but it was a Barking and Dagenham officer and reported that the man was Stephen Port. So it was like a police officer that said it, it's Stephen Port. I worded that a bit weird. Mm-hmm. On the morning of October 15th, 2015, Stephen Port was arrested at his flat on suspicion of causing deaths of 4 men by administering poison. While in custody, Stephen was interviewed. His version of events would be repeated regarding the death of Anthony Walgate and denied ever meeting any of the other victims or using GHB. He did mention that he believed he met Daniel Whitworth at a sex party but denied any further knowledge about Daniel and the suicide note. Despite his efforts, Stephen would be charged with 4 counts of murder on the 18th of October 2015. Following his arrest, 8 more victims would come forward. They all said they had met him online, went to his flat, and had been drugged, raped, and sexually assaulted. Also, Stephen stole / kept the phones of every murder victim so the police wouldn't find it at the scene and examine it.
So what, he just kept the phones in his flat then? Assuming so.
Now that I'm thinking of this, I'm unsure because they're not a missing person. I wouldn't think that they would be like tracking to see if like one of their phones is pinged off like a phone tower or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then, is that still not a bit of like, you'd want to find where the phone is because it might have some evidence on it? But then the police didn't really give a fuck about evidence in this instance. So
I mean, yeah, again, I can like slag off the police's work or whatever. I'm not a policeman. I don't know their actual process. But I don't know, I feel like the family would also be like, oh, his phone's missing. Like he died.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe you could see if he was contacting anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is a correct point we can make or not, but it just feels a bit weird that he was able to stash them and that wasn't flagged as a problem.
Yeah. So other like DNA evidence that the police didn't examine / pick up was a blue sheet was found with Daniel Whitworth's body and was covered in Stephen's DNA as it was a sheet from his own fucking bed. And then the supposed suicide note that was found with Daniel's body was written on paper and placed into a plastic wallet that were from Stephen's flat. Later, one of Stephen's old phones was found and examined. It was found to have 83 homemade sex videos on it and had clips of him and other men raping an unconscious male.
This is baffling to me because like, he's not being, what I think is striking for me about that info there is that he's not being careful with his DNA. You know, like the sheet being covered in it. He'd know that, but because of the track record he's had already of them not flagging up the obvious, he's sort of getting cocky with it and just not bothering to cover those tracks in a way and just be like, yeah, my evidence is on it, but they're not going to check it, so who gives a fuck? I mean, that's how that reads to me, which is just disgraceful.
Doing all this shit to someone and then disposing of them and then being like, oh, all right, okay, let's get back on the apps and let's get someone else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's continue this fucking reign of terror. For the trial, Stephen appeared via video links from HM Prison Belmarsh and repeatedly denied all charges. DCI Tom Duffield led the investigation into Stephen and described him as, quote, he's a voracious sexual predator who appears to have been fixated, obsessed with surreptitiously drugging young, often vulnerable men for the exclusive purpose of rape. This is a highly devious, manipulative and self-obsessed individual. Oof. On the 23rd of November 2016, Stephen John Port was convicted of the murders, assaults by penetration and rapes of Anthony Woolgate, Gabriel Cavari, Daniel Whitworth and Jack Taylor. He was also convicted of 3 other rapes, 4 sexual assaults and 10 counts of administering a substance with intent. Stephen was sentenced to a whole life order, meaning he would never be eligible for parole. He will never be released from prison. Other people who have received a whole life order are Ian Brady, Myra Hindley and Dennis Nilsson. Mr. Justice Openshaw said, quote, I accept his intention was only to cause really serious harm rather than cause death, but he must have known and foreseen there was a high risk of death. The more so after the death of Anthony Woolgate, the first victim. Continuing, he said, quote, the murders were committed as part of a persistent course of conduct of defendant surreptitiously drawing these young men so that he could penetrate them while they were unconscious. While Stephen's whole life order was announced, loud cheers and applauses rang from the family members in court. Someone in the public gallery shouted, quote, I hope you die a long, slow death, you piece of shit. To which I say, I would do the exact fucking same.
It's baffling though, like the amount of cases we've done so far, and he's the only one, I think, who's been like, you're in jail for life. It's not just like life, 25 years. This is your life now. Which baffles me that the other people haven't been given that sentence as well, because some of them were horrific and deserved life.
It is a big thing when people get whole life orders, because not many, sadly.
Well, that's what I mean, but it's weird though, because like, why have life then? Why be like, oh, you got life, but it's actually 25 years. When you got whole life order,
I can't stand that.
Like, why are we differentiating it? If life means life, you know?
You're away for life.
Yeah.
But that's like the highest sentence you can receive in the UK.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the death penalty.
I was going to say, it's ironic. The highest you get is life, and the one above that is death.
Yeah. What pisses me off, though, about, like, the death... Like criminals and the death penalty is when criminals are like being charged and they're like, no, I don't want to die. Like, say they've murdered someone and then they go to trial and they're like, you might get the death penalty. And they're like, no, I don't want to die. It's like, well, why should you have a fucking choice? Because the people who you killed didn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether they died or not. In 2016, the Met announced that they were going to re-examine 58 unexplained deaths that occurred involving date rape drugs. The deaths occurred in between June 2011 and October 2015. However, it was concluded that Stephen wasn't involved / linked to any of them. Many failings resulted in further deaths in this case. They could have been prevented. Regarding Anthony, investigators at the scene were not made aware of previous rape allegations made against Stephen that was recorded on the police national computer. They had discovered it was Stephen who had made the 999 call after it was traced. However, the police did not check the database, only against Anthony, not Stephen, who had reported the body. An officer deemed that Anthony hadn't been assaulted despite him having bruising under his arms. Anthony's underwear was found to be on back to front and inside out. And police stated that this was, quote, unusual, not necessarily suspicious or sinister.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit of an alarm bell.
Yeah.
I think you should rate, like, I don't want to say like, oh, we'll raise your eyebrow, but I think it should be something that you pay attention to and you investigate further. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be something you just turn a blind eye to. Sex swabs were also taken, but they were not submitted for DNA testing and no fingerprint testing would be done on the bottle of GHB found in his pocket. Also, the messages that Gabriel's boyfriend had received describing the chemsex parties was, as we previously said, Stephen Port. John had brought these messages to the attention of the police, but they didn't investigate it. If they had investigated it, it would have led them to Stephen Port. Gabriel and Daniel were not seen together at a chemsex party. It was Stephen's attempt to cover up his crime. John, Gabriel's friend, who went to the police with evidence saying that there was an active serial killer in the area. I just reading that saying, I cannot imagine how you would feel going to police saying there's an active serial killer in our area.
Yeah.
That's just fucking insane.
Terrifying.
I think one of your friends could be the victim.
Yeah.
In the area, and he thinks that the failings of the investigation are a result of a lack of understanding of the lives of gay men. Quote, I think if Barking and Dagenham police had not taken the circumstances of those first 3 deaths at face value, if they'd questioned as a detective should do, if they'd empathised with the victims, then they would have connected them, and Stephen Port would not have been allowed to kill Jack Taylor. The amount of apparent failings in this case is absolutely infuriating. I cannot imagine how beyond frustrated and disheartened the victims' families must feel. And as well, how they said, it's too expensive to like test Stephen's laptop after they seized it. Like, why are you putting a price tag essentially on someone's life?
Yeah, like a monetary value.
Yeah.
You know.
The Met Police made a voluntary referral to the IPCC, which is the Independent Police Complaints Commission, and they opened an investigation. It would determine 17 police officers should receive disciplinary action. The IPCC concluded their investigation and provided the Met with their report in August of 2018. They concluded that, quote, the performance of 9 officers fell below the standard required and they will need to undergo measures to ensure performance is improved. The victims' families launched a lawsuit against the Met Police, which would be settled for undisclosed amounts in 2022, which is like only 3 years ago. Gerald Matovu was 26 years old and would sell GHB to Stephen Port. Gerald would later be arrested and charged with the murder of actor and businessman Eric Meehouse. He used the same methods as Stephen. He met Eric on Grindr and had given him a fatal dose of GHB. He received life imprisonment, serving a minimum of 31 years.
Wow.
So that was his dealer.
Supplier.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know I've said this like in other episodes. I don't know if this is in pop culture, but like kind of like in like TV, film, whatever. There's a mini docudrama about the victims and Stephen. 4 Lives is available on BBC iPlayer, BritBox, and has 3 episodes, and it is rated 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. There's also let me see if I can quickly find it. I'm pretty sure it's by the BBC as well. Serial killer Stephen Port's murders. It's on YouTube, but it's on the channel BBC 3, so I don't know if it's on iPlayer. But
it should be.
It's basically John. I mean, it does go into the case as well, but it like interviews John and he explains all like how he went to the police and all the evidence and contacting Gabriel's boyfriend and stuff. So that's how I found some information on the case as well. But that is the case of Stephen Port, the Grindr killer. So he's got a whole life order, so thank God. Because if that man was to get out of prison, we would never feel safe in the streets again.
Yeah, no, it's a very good thing the court did this time in giving a whole life order. First serial killer done on the pod, and it's one I'd never heard of before. And I feel like, again, when I say it's right, it sounds like I'm so like clueless. I'm really thick, to be honest. Where I'm like, I never heard of this before. But I feel like I have. It's just not resonated in my brain properly. But you know, what a horrible,
awful story.
Individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking vile.
Horrendous. But yeah, do you have any other points to discuss?
I don't think so. I think I covered everything. I'm just really glad that one, his supplier also got locked up.
Yeah. It's quite. I never really hear of cases where like the drug dealer gets
the accomplice
time as well.
Yeah, no, but in this instance, thank God. Yeah, no, I'm just really glad that the victims' families can sort of get solace in that he is away for life and like he will be behind bars until he dies, which is something. I mean, it can't heal everything properly, but I'd like to think anyway, it could provide some sort of closure in a way.
Yeah. I mean,
that justice has been served in a way.
Yeah, I know, it's a horrible one. And it went on for like over a year.
Yeah. Rough.
It's just, oh God.
And it could have all been prevented.
Okay, shall we transition to the next part?
Let's go.
We've arrived.
I do. I love it here.
So what's made you smile the same week, Daniel?
Now this is a tricky one because I was like, shit, I actually don't have one because my only thing was Daredevil. And then I thought, actually, there was something quite nice. I went out of my house the other day. Doesn't that sound exciting? No. It was at the middle of the day. I went outside my house to empty the bins, and the sun was beaming down on me.
Oh my God.
It was like being bathed in
golden,
sunlight.
Gorgeous sunlight.
Yeah,
the weather, this is so like boring to talk about, and so like I feel stereotypical British. But seriously, driving home from work, this is also what's made me smile, Daniel. I've just thought of it now. Driving home from work this week, I've had the tunes blasting, I've had the window down, I've had the sun beaming on me, and I've just been living life.
It's been quite nice, hasn't it? I mean, It's quite miserable today, actually, so I'll take it back. But like the other day, I think it was Wednesday, actually, so the day that Daredevil dropped, funnily enough. But, you know, it was a really lovely, warm day, and I thought, it's going to be okay. Like we said last week, I'm someone
who's going to be okay.
I'm going to be okay. And that's great.
No, the sun really does change your mood.
Fucking hell, it elevates me so much more. I feel like I can fucking kick the sky.
The world.
Yeah,
kick some ass.
Kick some bloody ass.
Oh, something that's made me smile is I had my hair done. She was looking a bit crusty and dusty before, but I have pink hair, like neon pink hair, that's also UV. So when I go under a UV light, I literally glow up like a glow stick. And as well, when I went Sabrina Carpenter, I went with my boyfriend's sister. So we were like standing on the floor, and then two other people that we went with were like seated at the back. And they were like finding us in the crowd because you could literally see my hair like illuminating the crowd.
That's crazy. That's actually mental.
I love that. I love that about me. Yeah. Yeah, she got a picture as well.
I saw you posted it. You know, last week we were saying that Lois lives at number 1 Quirk Street. That's another reason as to why, because she's a real trendsetter with this pink hair. Nobody's got pink hair these days.
I like to be so quirky and different.
Yeah, absolutely outside of the box thinking from Lois there.
But like, I'm just looking at myself in the... It's kind of like... This is kind of like FaceTime, but it only records audio. But I'm just looking at my hair thinking, what a beautiful set of locks you got. Until I wash it and it just goes frizzy and fucking dry as shit.
Must be nice.
What? To wash your hair?
No, to enjoy your hair.
Oh, what's up with your hair?
I'm just scared about mine leaving me.
Oh, Daniel, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. This is why I love it when she dyes it, because she reinstates my hairline.
Well, I had a barber once, and he was like, you've got lovely thick hair. And I went home and was like, that motherfucker's lying. Like, he's lying through his teeth. Why did you just say that to me?
No, you might have thick hair, but...
No.
Just their receding hairline.
No.
But I've been using oil on mine, and mine's growing back.
Yeah, you've been saying that for 2 years now.
I'm going to manifest it. She's going to grow back.
Yeah, well, I'll manifest mine as well. One day.
Do you have a song to recommend? This is not
Christ! I quite like it. Again, I don't have one top of my head. So what I would do is what I did last time, as in only about an hour ago, really. Go through my Spotify.
God. Was it like, it would have been now 2 episodes ago, but now from when we're filming this, like last episode when we actually filmed, you said you went to see Miles Smith. He won, I don't know what Brit Award, but he won a Brit Award. And I also know another song by him called Nice to Meet You.
That's one of my favourite ones.
Song. Really?
Yeah, it's a banger.
And I do love that stargazing one, but it's just overplayed on the radio to the point where I fucking hate it.
I'm sick of it. Don't like it. I liked it, and then they've killed the fucker.
I have one.
You go first, then.
My song recommendation. Now picture this: you're in your car, you're driving, the sun's shining, you got your windows down. I've got a hiccup. And you've got this song blasting. It's called Days With You by Snake Hips. It's also in my on repeat forever.
Snake Hips?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. Yeah, Snake Hips with Sinead Harnett.
All right.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous song. Love that song since I was about 16.
This one is a bit of a summer vibe, well, we're talking about the sun, so it's Self Love by Metro Boomin and Coy Leray, I think. I don't know.
Metro Boomin, they do Shake It.
I don't know. No, that's Metro Station, you moron.
Oh.
How embarrassing. No, Self Love is from the Spider-Verse films. Well,
they're coming on to Netflix. So I'm going to watch them.
Oh, let me know when I'm joining.
Anyway,
but, this one's from the second one, and it's, oh my God, it's an absolute, bop. Really,
It's a bop.
It is, it's an absolute fucking hit. You take out the vocals, just the instrumental alone, I think is fucking lovely. It's a really nice, lovely song.
Is it well known?
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Probably not, no. It's not like Sunflower, where that
I was going to say
off.
Sunflower. Oh, Coy Leray. Is she the one who sings
I don't know anything about her.
Players? I'm pretty sure it's Players. I just want to have a good night. Hold up, if you don't know, well, you know. If you're broke, then you gotta let him go. You can have anybody and him on him on. You're a boss, you gotta do what you want. Because girls is players too. Yeah, that's the chorus. Anyway, that took a while to get there, but we did it in the end.
Okay. Thanks for the nod there to do the outro. I was just looked at me and went, go on. It's your time. Okay. And that's it for today's episode. Hope you did enjoy. And if you did, please feel free to leave us a rating. That'd be lovely. Also, if you do want to... Yeah, 5 stars. If you do want to follow us, you can on our social medias. It's just the Instagram and TikTok, not Twitter. Fuck that place, man. So on Instagram, we are Choosing the Bear. And on TikTok, we are Choosing the Bear Pod. Thank you again for listening. It's been lovely. And I hope you enjoyed this 2-parter. And we'll see you next week.
Ta-ta, bye!
Bye.